We've got to start understanding what the mentality of our claimants or potential customers really is. And at the end of the day, what they want is speed. They want somebody to listen. They want somebody to react. They want somebody to say that I can help you. And they want that done as fast as possible. Welcome to the Intake Playbook, the podcast where we transform your law firm's intake process into a secret weapon. I'm your host, Gary Falkowitz, and I've spent more than a decade helping law firms across the country maximize their intake performance. If you want to stop leaving cases on the table, create a better client experience, and grow your revenue, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. So let me share a story with you that I think most of you are going to appreciate and really find some commonality with. Let me share a story with you that most of you can certainly say that you've experienced before, I think. So my heat stopped working in the house. No hot water, no heat. The boiler broke. And it was New Year's Eve. And it's freezing cold in the winter. I am not a plumber. I could not figure out how to fix it. But I was a person in need. Just like folks who are trying to call your law firm are in need of a lawyer. So I began to call the plumbers that I knew, and I began to ask friends for plumbers that they recommended. Now, mind you, it was New Year's Eve, and I was in a position of need. Yet some people called me back, and some people didn't call me back. I had to be the squeaky wheel, and I had to make a decision about who am I going to work with based upon, at the end of the day, not who the best plumber is out there, not who had the best testimonials out there, but really based upon who is fastest to respond. Or in my case, maybe who is the only one to respond. And I need you all to understand something. This is how most decisions are made when you are in a position of need. Even somebody that's looking for an attorney. I promise you, most of them feel like they are in a position of need. And most of them know very little about who you are, what you do, how good you are at what you do. And they base their decisions on how quick you are to respond to them. And at the end of the day, thankfully, everything worked out. The plumber fixed the issue. But I realized once again, because the hints are everywhere, the evidence is everywhere. We've got to start understanding what the mentality of our claimants or potential customers really is. And at the end of the day, what they want is speed. They want somebody to listen. They want somebody to react. They want somebody to say that I can help you. And they want that done as fast as possible. And if you're second to answer, if you're second to respond, if you're second to call back, you're likely losing. So if you had to tell your team one of the most important aspects to winning, you would say it is be the first to respond. Answer first. Tell somebody we can help first. We don't have the luxury to wait overnight. We don't have the luxury to wait over the weekend. We don't have the luxury to wait until New Year's Day if it's New Year's Eve. We are not a 9-to-5 company. We are 24/7. And if you want to compete with the big boys and you want to compete with the really successful law firms, then you've got to make sure that you have processes and people in place that are consistent with a 24/7 mindset. And let me make it very clear to all of you out there. It means that if somebody submits a web inquiry, then within 30 seconds, you have to respond. You have to call them or you have to text them so that they know that you received it. One of my biggest pet peeves is submitting a web inquiry to a company and hearing nothing for days. And then they call me back 4 days later thinking I still have an interest or that I even remember why I reached out to them in the first place. My hope is that when I submit a web inquiry, you know that I am involved this moment. My attention to your solution, to your product, to your service is this moment. And it may not last more than 30 seconds or 1 minute. So you have to respond fast. And oh, by the way, if you don't respond fast, what do you think I'm doing? Do you think you're the only game in town and I'm just going to wait for you to get back to me? All I'm doing is copying the summary that I provided to your firm and pasting it on 6 other websites. And do you know who mostly wins that competition? The first firm to respond. So yes, I mean, make sure you pick up on the first ring. I mean, when you're following up, follow up same day. I mean, when you get a web inquiry, call back immediately. Speed matters in this game. And these are people who are in need of your service. When you are in need of somebody else's service, you want a solution as fast as possible. And if we can't provide an immediate response, then why are we even in this game? Thank you for listening to the Intake Playbook podcast. If this episode sparked a new idea or insight, take a moment to screenshot it and post it in the Intake Playbook group on Facebook. Share what resonated with you or what you'd like me to dive into next. Your input helps shape this podcast. and I'd love to hear from you. Let me ask you this. Is your intake process maximizing every opportunity? If not, I created the Intake Masterclass to help. Inside, you'll get access to the tools and strategies I've used to help firms transform their intake process and turn missed opportunities into measurable wins. Plus, you'll join a network of professionals all focused on growing their firms. The ROI you'll see from refining your intake will speak for itself. Visit intakeplaybook.com today and start making every lead count. Thank you again for spending your time with me on the Intake Playbook podcast. Remember, intake isn't just about systems. It's about building trust and creating connections. Keep pushing forward. And if you're looking for more resources or details from today's episode, check out the show notes at intakeplaybook.com. I'll see you there.